Hello, and this is that day of the year in which I've decided to clean both of my PCs with the help of my dear cat. Hey Julie. And here on my right side I have my workstation. On my left side I have my video editor's workstation, and I've decided to make this long kind of vlog slash video or tutorial. How am I personally cleaning PCs, because I've been using PCs for like 15 years or so, and there were lots of techniques that I've been trying throughout the years to use to clean my PCs, and I think I found one that is fairly suitable, which is featuring air compressor. And that guy is gonna come in play a bit later, but until then, let me I would actually have to start with this one, and I'm gonna put this one aside, and my cat has decided to step down. Anyway, so video editor's PC is gonna be first, and here I got the nozzle of air compressor, and so here's the nozzle, but it's not working since it's not powered right now. And yeah, important thing, so because there is gonna be lots of dust everywhere flying around, I would recommend using face mask. And let me put it on. Also, if you have sensitive skin, maybe you should cover your whole face, and or even wear gloves. So feel free to use anything that's gonna make you more comfortable and make your life easier. And yeah, this is the process that you want to do, like, I guess once every 6 months. But I personally, in this particular case, haven't cleaned my workstations for about a year, I think, so this is a perfect opportunity to film this video, because there's gonna be lots of dust, like I said, and you'll be able to see. Not necessarily in this particular PC, because it has just a handful of fans, ventilators, however you want to call them, but the other one is gonna be really messy. And later on I'm also going to change the thermal paste on the CPU cooler, but that's gonna be filmed separately. So please, can you turn on the air compressor so we can start? Before you turn it on, just one note. When you're using things like this, you might be able to see on the video that there's gonna be spitting of water. That is because of the condensation process. So make sure to use gravity as your ally in this case, because if you try to clean it from bottom, air won't be spitting directly towards the components. Yes, there could be some spitting and some water on components, but I'll talk about that separately and later on. And yeah, so when you're trying to clean from top to bottom, well, water is gonna just be sipping downwards. So yeah, use gravity as your ally. Please turn on the compressor. This is gonna be very loud, so I won't be talking too much. Come on. Alright, the biggest part is done, I would say, and you could have seen that I didn't want to take out the graphics card because this graphics card was installed just recently, so it's not that dirty. And now the part when I'm gonna dust off the PSU, power supply unit, and that unit, that particular component has always been the dirtiest, the most dusty out of all of them. And let me give you a few tips. So, speaking of air condensation and spitting of water droplets, if this happens, don't fear, because you can just leave the components dry out and everything is gonna be okay. So when you're done with the process of dusting off, just to be sure, leave it for some time just to dry completely, so that you are 100% safe. No problem has ever occurred to me when it comes to cleaning and hardware. But hey, just to be careful, like just leave it for some time to dry out, like I said. And if you want to speed up the process, you could use something like hair dryer or whatever that you find suitable for drying out the rest of the water droplets. And yeah, as you can see, my hands are very, very dry. So this is like one negative thing that comes with this process, because there's lots of air being pushed all over the place. And another point, you can see that I didn't detach the heatsink of the CPU. I'm gonna do that later when I'm going to replace the thermal paste. But this particular technique of dusting off the air is really helpful, because from my experience of many tries using this technique, you don't necessarily have to take out components and dust them off individually. For example, like fans are easy and quick to dismount, but this nozzle really helps you get into places and be precise with air pressure. And compared to, I mean, I've seen many people using vacuum cleaners to clean their PCs. I did myself as well in the past, but pushing air is much better, because you can point the nozzle towards particular things that you want dusted off. However, with vacuum cleaners, you can't do that. You're just sucking air, and it's just inaccurate, imprecise. And that's a great thing about this particular technique. And my technique might not be the best, but hey, this does phenomenal job, and it's much faster, more comfortable. Yeah, like I said, saves time, because like I said multiple times, I don't have to dismount components and dismount the whole tower. In the past, when I would be using brushes to clean off the dust, in that case I would have to take out all the components, brush them off individually, put them back in, and even then it wouldn't be as good as this one. For example, I wouldn't be able to precisely use brushes and hair brushes and clean off things, but with this one you can just access almost everything. Also, one stupid thing that I would be doing before would be I would be using my lungs and air from my like I said, from my lungs to like dust off the air like this, and that would be a nightmare, both for the components and both for myself. So I'm definitely not advising doing that. First of all, you're gonna be much closer to to the dust particles, and that can cause problems. You'll be coughing for the entire day, and also you might not notice, but as you're pushing air through your mouth, you're actually spitting lots of water droplets, saliva droplets. So yeah, that's why it's not good for components, and overall very, very uncomfortable practice. Anyway, and now I'm gonna dust off the power supply, and I might take off the CPU heatsink, replace the thermal paste. Might be a bit tricky to film this part, but hey, let's proceed. And this particular workstation is almost done, and yeah, let's go. Now, one important thing when you're cleaning your fans, before you apply any pressure on them, no matter if you are using vacuum cleaner or air compressor like this, make sure to stop the fans with something in order, well, to stop spinning. You don't want them spinning. Why? Because when they are working in your PC, they are operating under their own power, under their own speeds. However, when you're artificially spinning them, using things like air compressor, vacuum cleaner, or whatever, there is a high possibility that they will be spinning at the higher speeds that they are meant to be spinning at. Like I said, when they're spinning on their own power, they are meant to be spinning at that speed, and that's why you don't want them to be spinning at the higher speeds, because you can damage the bearings of fans. Never happened to me, but it's a good thing to put in practice. Always stop the fans spinning and then proceed with the process of dusting off. Now I've decided to take out the PSU because it's dirtier than I expected, so I'm gonna give it a bit more bit more cleaning, and then I'm gonna put it back in and proceed with the process. When you're screwing, you don't have to over tighten the screws. Just when you feel the pressure, it's alright, so just stop. Now I'm gonna put the air filter back, actually dust filter. Yeah, GPU is pretty clean. So here's my heatsink, and I'm gonna use toilet paper and alcohol as a tool of cleaning. Brand new roll of paper. This is the correct way. Wow, no, it wasn't correct at all. That's a bit too much. When you're cleaning the CPU itself, try not to disperse the thermal paste, or you might make the socket dirty and make your life miserable. So be careful, do it slowly, don't force things. Make it clean. Yeah, I have a little bit of paste here, but it should not be a problem. After the CPU itself is done, then we can go ahead and clean off the heatsink. Alright, CPU is clean, heatsink is clean. Now the time to reapply the thermal paste. That should be enough. Don't over tighten neither of the screws unless you feel them being firmly hooked up to the small hooks on the plastic parts of the socket brackets. And after they are balanced, then you can be slightly more aggressive and tighten the screws to their fullest. And when I say fullest, I don't mean like fullest, but just up until the point when you feel firm pressure, I would say. But anyway, there's no need to go crazy. Now I'm going to put the fans back up. I'm using these smaller rubbers in order to suspend the vibrations. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Before you take out the heatsink, I would give you this advice. Make sure to give it a little bit of wiggle in order to avoid a scenario that happened once to me. Right, so here's a short story. Back in 2012, when I was younger, a little bit of stupid, you could say naive as well. So what happened was I didn't do the trick that I just told you, and I took out the heatsink but with the CPU together, so they were married. And this happened because thermal paste is a little bit adhesive, so acts like a glue, especially when CPU is doing its thing. It heats up and makes tiny vacuum pockets between between surfaces, and yeah, make sure to give it a little bit of wiggle to break the adhesiveness, to break the vacuum effect, and it would be easier to then just take out the fan. And during that process, back in 2012, when I was cleaning my AMD Phantom 2 955 CPU, I didn't know how to disengage the CPU from the heatsink, and then I tried to put it back together rather than disengaging them. And in that process I bent a few pins on the CPU, and one pin was completely broken. Luckily, I think that particular pin wasn't being used for anything, and was like a dud or dummy pin. I was lucky, and then I managed to realign the rest of the pins with credit card. But yeah, don't be younger version of me. Make sure, like I said, to give it a little bit of wiggle, and you'll be able to more easily take out the heatsink and clean it off. All right, proceeding with the process. Heatsink is back in. Both fans are back connected. I gotta reposition the SSD pocket. This seems to be fine. Okay, there is one cable missing. It's not connected to the SSD, so I'll have to take this back cover off again. Oh my goodness. Alright, the cleaning process of our video editor's workstation is done, and I just have to put the side window back on. Let me just quickly go through the components. So we have AMD Ryzen 7 1700X, Cooler Master Hyper Evo 212, 500 gigabytes of Samsung 960 M.2 SSD, Asus GTX 1070 8GB graphics card, 32 GB of Corsair DDR4 RAM memory. What else? Oh yeah, hard drive, 2 TB, or no, that's 1 TB. Yeah, 1 TB Seagate Barracuda hard drive. Cooler Master Box 511 PC case, 600 watt power supply, and now video editor's workstation is clean and ready for more videos to be rendered. That's it. Now on to the next PC. Alright, now it's time to dust off and clean my main workstation PC, and let's go, let's get it started. First I'm gonna take off the side window panel. Gotta be careful not to break it. And I'm gonna take off the back panel as well. Alright, they are both safe aside. And this PC is gonna be wow. I mean, I've been looking at this PC for the past few days when I was planning to make this video and clean it up, but I didn't expect to see this much dust. It's horrible. It wasn't cleaned up for more than a year, so lots of work ahead. Enough talking, let me put my mask on and go on with the process. I'm also gonna have to dismount a few of components because this PC is just dust everywhere. All right. Just look at this. Even without blowing dust, you can see it's everywhere. The dust filter, completely dusty. The fans are horrible. But hey, that's the point of cleaning, I guess. How do I take this one off? Now, of course, this PC is gonna be much more problematic for cleaning. It has more parts. Some parts are bigger. The case itself is bigger. And I'm trying to take these two off. I'll need to use screwdriver. Yeah, this is gonna take some time, but luckily I don't have to do it that often. Maybe, like I said, once a year for complete cleanup, and like let's say every 4 months for quick dust off. And I'm now dismounting Cooler Master MF120R ARGB fans, which are sitting on the top of the radiator of Cooler Master ML360R all-in-one cooling solution, which is cooling the CPU. And I have to disconnect the cables. One thing that makes this whole process actually easier, although that it's relatively harder compared to the other PC, is that this PC is using a Cooler Master Master Case 5 PC case, which is fairly big. And what's actually funny is that the size format of this case is mid tower rather than full tower, but it's like, I would say, enlarged mid tower size format. I really love this case. I've been using it since 2017. And then I recently got the side window panel kit upgrade. Really love it because I have all the RGB power now. You know, before, years ago, I wasn't RGB fan. No pun intended. Like I said, I wasn't a biggest fan of RGB lighting, but since I literally got it forced upon me because this AIO cooler comes with RGB fans, and then I was like, okay, let me add a few more RGB fans to make it like universal. I mean, sorry, I meant to say uniform, and make it all shiny, bright, and etc, etc, make it all colors. And yeah, that's why I added on top. I have two MF140R Cooler Master coolers. Yeah, these are ARGB as well. A stands for addressable RGB, alright? And on the back I have another 14 centimeters or 140 millimeters fan, and on the front, like I said, 3 times 12 centimeter fans, which I'm currently dismounting. So this one was on the top, this one was in the middle, and this one is in the bottom. Man, this radiator, poor radiator. I gotta put the screws in my pocket just to make sure that I don't lose them. I'm not going to dismount the radiator because that's gonna take so much time, and once I take out all the components I won't have to, because there's gonna be more than enough space to dust it off comfortably. And let me just take out the cables. Alright, and maybe I should go first and clean these two off. Let's see what else I would like to dismount. Now this particular fan is a little bit more dusty compared to the other two, for whatever the reason. I'm assuming this has to do with the airflow. Like I said before, when you're trying to clean your fans, make sure to stop them with your finger or anything else. Just push the bearing like this when you're cleaning in order to stop them from spinning, in order not to damage them. Because they are meant to be spinning under their own power up to certain speeds. However, when you're pushing air through them artificially, you can make them spin at higher speeds that they are meant to be spinning at, and yeah, damage the bearings. You don't want to do that, so that's why you stop your fans from spinning. So I'm using a little bit of toilet paper to break off some of the dust. I want to stop for a second and literally talk about my past experience that just happened. Like, I was expecting everything and all of that, but this was massive, and you were able to see how dust comes out from the front, from anywhere. Like when I started pushing the air, it was like going all over the place, and almost went into my face a couple of times. And even though I have this protective face mask, I could still smell and feel a bit of particles, dust particles coming towards my face in mask and etc, etc. And my hoodie was all dusty, and but hey, look at this. This is already massive progress compared to how it was in the beginning, and I'm gonna apply more care towards the radiator, because as you can see, this side is still all gunky and dusty. That's gonna be cleaned up properly. And the basement is also gonna need the base is also gonna need specific care. I'm also going to take out the power supply and dust it off separately. Probably the same is gonna go with the graphics card. RAM sticks can stay, but I might take them out for a proper cleanup. Now I'm gonna take care of top fans and back fan. This one was installed just like a few days ago, but I'm gonna take it out in order to have better access to the rest of the components. And I will also have to replace this adhesive what's called, I forgot the term, but this is holding my fan splitter, which is providing the power to the fans. And after I'm done with the dusting off, I'm gonna take out the pump as well, take it off, replace the thermal paste, put it back on, and then start mounting and putting parts back in place. And let's proceed with the top fans. This cable splitter, fan splitter or hub, has its own adhesive tape which broke off. I will need to do something with that. It actually can be recycled, can be reused, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that. Anyway, it's not the point of this video necessarily, because the point of this whole video is about cleaning off the dust. And I will have to disconnect a few things. Yes, I'm gonna disconnect the fans. Trying not to break the PCB. Dust is still flying around. Yeah, no matter no matter how dirty this job can be, it feels nice because you know that you are getting rid of things that have to be got rid of, and feels nice that you know that you will have nice clean workstation with better temperatures, looking more beauty. And okay, I gotta disconnect the cables at the back. Wow, this one is the worst, definitely. You can literally see the clots of dust. Amazing. You can see that I'm using toilet paper quite extensively for this PC, because you can't always just dust off the whole amount of dust. Some particles just stick to the surface. Now I'm going to take off the GPU. I don't feel just enough to be able to access its fan, and then as soon as I'm done with that, I'm gonna put it back on. But also before that, I'm gonna clean up the bottom part a bit more and then put the PSU back in. Alright. Now you can see this one mistake that I'm not proud of, definitely. So I'm still to clean off the front of the radiator, but I was inputting my effort in the rest of the case in order to clean it as best as I can, while forgetting that I'm still up to clean this front radiator. And if I wanna clean it properly, I would have to do it from this side, which means that I'll be pushing back the dust inside and basically redoing some of my work. But hey, the point is, when you're about to clean off your PC, try to make a little bit of plan, at least like a rough plan, so that you can save yourself some time and make things easier, at least a bit. But anyway, with this tool, I'm fairly confident that I'm gonna make it up for the lost effort. But anyway, a little bit of more effort needed and time, but anyway, it's all gonna be all right later on. Also, maybe you could see before, while I was checking the nozzle, I could see some spitting happening, so I stopped to see it, and then I had to take the toilet paper and clean it off, because my nozzle is not perfect. It's a little bit old. I guess I should replace it with a new one, with better one. But sometimes it can happen at the tip of the nozzle, and you can't do anything about it other than just stop or pay attention to it. And after everything is done, just leave the components to dry off completely and you'll be safe. Anyway, proceeding with cleaning the front of the radiator. Now you can see clearly what am I talking about. My nozzle, you can see the sound. There is a hole somewhere, but anyway, it's spitting here at the neck area, so just be careful about this. Like I said many times, it should not be a problem. No components are gonna short circuit. I'm pretty confident because I'm gonna leave them and dry off. But yeah, just be mindful about this and pay attention. So I was thinking about turning PC horizontally, but then I realized, hey, I got this sipping problem or spitting problem, however you want to call it. So that's why I decided to use a bit of gravity as my ally in this case, in order to avoid sending as much water as I could directly to the motherboard, which would be fairly bad. You want to avoid that. But anyway, I'm going to use a little bit of an angle in order to avoid spitting. Now, after everything is done, it is time to replace the thermal paste on the CPU and then put things back up. All right. As you could see, I gave it a little bit of wiggle because I was feeling that the pump is fairly hard sticking to the CPU. So, like I said before, give it a little bit of wiggle in order to break the vacuum, break the connection, and you'll be able to take the pump off or heatsink, whatever you have, without taking out your CPU as well. So I gotta disconnect a few more cables. Yes, this is all painful, and I can't see properly. Okay, there we go. Right, this cable I don't have to disconnect. I'm gonna leave it aside like this and then proceed with the process of applying some alcohol to the toilet paper. And during this stage you have unique opportunity to examine or investigate how you applied the thermal paste the last time when you were cleaning your PC. So yeah, give it some time and go around, have a look, investigate how you did it. Maybe you could have applied a bit more paste or a bit less. Maybe you misaligned it. Anyway, or you can even record the process so that you know how much amount you've applied. I don't know about this one. I've seen better in my life, but I think it was okay, decent. And yeah, always be careful when you're cleaning the old paste. After you clean it in the first run, you might see some alcohol sitting on the top of the surface, so use the dry part of toilet paper and just brush it off. Alright, the CPU is done. Now I can proceed with the pump itself. Oops. And in this particular try, I literally drowned this piece of paper in alcohol. Wasn't the best move, but this one is gonna require that. I don't know which paste model is this one. I think it's Cooler Master, and it feels very sticky. It's hard to clean it off. Now I have these two thermal paste types. This one is Cooler Master Master Gel. This one is Cooler Master V1. And I think I'm gonna go with Master Gel in this case, because that came with the ML360 AIO cooler. And I think it's a bit more quality compared to the V1, but anyway, let's proceed with applying the thermal paste. I think this one is better than the last time. All right. From my perspective and in my opinion, putting heatsink and pump back is the hardest part, because you have to balance, you have to manage things, but I know that the process of cleanup is getting towards the end. So maybe you could see that I was struggling with tightening this screw because it just wouldn't grip, but I had to give it some time and add extra effort. And now you can see by the height of screw heads the balance. So you want to make them as balanced as possible. You don't want one screw being tighter more than the other one. So I'm gonna unscrew this one a little bit and apply a bit more rotation to this one, and they should be about the same, I think. Yeah, just tighten it a bit more nicely, not gonna overdo it. And now I'm gonna put back in the graphics card and start with connecting the fans back, connecting the power supply, and finishing off the process. Now what I want to do is to relocate this RGB controller from here to underneath and hook up this 10-way splitter and maybe here, and this will give me a bit better cable management underneath. And this one, the 10-way splitter, is gonna be connected somewhat like this after everything is done. But anyway, until then, I gotta do some cable management. The RGB itself takes lots of space in this build when it comes to cables, which is kinda ironic. Really hurts my sense of minimalism. This is gonna be very painful. Alright, now it's time to connect the power cables to the GPU. Gotta make sure to properly connect 6+2 PCIe power connectors. I hate them. Alright, one is done. Now the second one. Done. Right, now time to tighten the graphics card. Now I made a layout for these two upper fans that I want, and now it's time to align the metal bracket, the dust filter and the fans themselves all together. A bit tricky process, but I think I'm gonna manage. Just to quickly check if everything is aligned. Seems to be fine. Now it's just a matter of adding 4 more screws just to fill in all the holes. Okay, now I'm gonna put the bracket back on the top. Just get the cables through. Okay, this one is for RGB, this one is for RGB as well. They're gonna go through the hole, just like that. This one is gonna go through the splitter. Now adding these 4 thumb screws, which are toolless because they have these grooves, and you can easily use just your fingers. You don't necessarily have to use a screwdriver in order to screw them in. And since it was very cold outside, we decided to move inside and continue the process. And I'm struggling quite heavily with the way I want RGB to be set up because I was moving things, but I'm gonna proceed now and mount the radiators, ventilators towards the front. And I gotta pay attention to mounting holes, or should I say cable management holes. Alright, power connectors for fans, and 2 more. Now the RGB splitter. This one might be a bit tricky. Well, what wasn't tricky up until now, right? Cable management is something that you always want to update, upgrade, and you can always make it a bit better, but there are times when you have to say, okay, this is good enough. Okay, Velcro strap is in. Now the fans are connected except the one on the back, and I have to figure out how the hell am I going to connect the RGB hub. Now this back RGB fan can go into this 10-way splitter, that's no problem. And actually I might... Okay. I have relatively small hands, but in situations like this, I would love to have them even smaller. Now here's one note. Each of these three fans is capable of pulling up to 0.28 amps of power, and this particular chassis fan can output up to 1 amp of power, and 3 times 0.28 is what it is 0.84 amps of power. So this setup is fine, and there is 0.16 amps of power left, like a pull, like a budget. If I was to add any other fan, that would probably bring it to total, which would be more than 1 amp, and that would be bad. That would kill the electricity in the fans. So this particular case, 3 times 0.28, that's total of 0.84, and yeah, this setup is fine. And I have a little bit of RGB left here to connect. Okay, now I like this layout. I think this makes more sense compared to before. Just gotta make sure that cables are not overly tight. Oh, nice. It's really nice how this 90-degree SATA power cable is gonna come in very handy in this occasion. Just gotta connect it. Nice. Really like it. This one is a bit tight, so I should be careful. Maybe better to reroute it sooner than later. Yes. Yes, definitely much better. Now I have to add just 2 more cables and I should be done with the cable management. And I guess, not sure because this RGB splitter has its own sticky tape. I guess it's time to use it and place it like this. Okay, like that. Now I'm trying to leave this space because I'll be adding some RGB plate in the future, so that's why I am struggling and trying to keep as much space as possible. And now I have to just to make sure that I have all the RGB things connected. Or at least I think so. Okay, just to double check. RGB connected. RGB connected. Pump connected. Hub connected. This controller is connected with the power. Seems to me like everything is connected. Now, probably in the future, I would use one of these and use Molex to SATA power converter and use that SATA power for this one. And I would have more SATA rails left over here just for the sake of redundancy. But for the time being, this is all just fine. And now I have to tighten this cable a little bit. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe move this one over. Yeah. I want to reroute it like this. Not to cross with this main power cable with 24 pin, because that one is quite big and heavy. Might make damage to this cable. And what's the problem now? Oh, I see. Okay. That was unfortunate. So the RAM stick was holding the cable, but now everything should be fine. I guess I could call this improvement compared to how it was before. This cable is a bit tight and it's gonna cause problems, so I guess I should rotate this fan. Yeah, definitely. Just to check the other things. Everything seems okay to me. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna rotate this one. I need to rotate this fan because the way I placed it, it makes its cable short and it's pulling the power splitter for the fans. Wow, whoops. On the front, everything is connected, and now it's a matter of making things a bit nicer in the back, if it is possible at all. Now I gotta put this one like this. Yeah, I think it's gonna fit. The right side panel is going to push it, so should be fine. Now I'm going to gently press the cables. I gotta improve that a little bit. I don't want the panel to crush any connections or break anything. That would undo the whole process. But it came along nicely in the end, taking into consideration how much I was struggling. I also have to add dust filter on the bottom. It's better to rotate the case. Just like that. And now the front grills. The front is done, right side is done, bottom is done, top is done, and now the last thing, side window panel. And that's it. The whole process of cleaning and reassembling my workstation is finally completed after hours and hours of work, and I think overall I'm satisfied, although it took more time than I thought it's gonna be, but in the end the cleaning is done, and luckily I won't be doing this in the next few months, definitely, because it's now fresh, clean. And also in the end I gotta say that cable management is a bit improved compared to how it was before. And that's it. I'm gonna test the PC, connect the whole thing, hook up the cables to the rest of the system, monitors, keyboard, mouse, and etc, etc, and see if I made any mistake and correct them. But anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this video a bit more than I did. I'm just kidding. And anyway, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye.